My name is Evelyn Monroe. I am 78 years old. And the night, my husband locked me out of our house and told me I had nowhere else to go. Was the night he thought my life was over. He was wrong. But before I tell you how I rebuilt everything he tried to destroy, please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss stories like this. And tell me in the comments which country you're watching from so I know who is sitting with me right now. Because what my husband did next, and what I did after that, changed everything. It was raining that night. Not heavy rain. The slow, cold kind that soaks into your clothes and makes your bones ache. I stood on the porch with my small purse in my hand, knocking on the door I had lived behind for 56 years. "Caleb," I called softly, "open the door." No answer. I knocked again. Harder. "Caleb, please." The porch light was on, which meant he was inside, watching. Then I heard his voice through the door. "You don't live here anymore," he said. My heart dropped. "What?" I whispered. "You heard me," he replied. "I'm done with you." I stood there, shaking. "I cooked for you today," I said. "I cleaned the house." "That doesn't matter anymore," he said flatly. "You're a burden." That word hit harder than the rain. Burden. I pressed my forehead against the door. "My medicine is inside," I said. "My clothes, my papers." "You should have thought about that before embarrassing me," he replied. Embarrassing him. That's what he called it. All I had done was tell his sister the truth. That he screamed at me. That he controlled my money. That he wanted me quiet and grateful while he slowly erased me. I stood there until my legs started to tremble. I didn't cry. I couldn't. I was too cold. Too shocked. Too tired. I finally sat on the porch step and hugged my purse to my chest. Inside that purse was everything he hadn't taken from me yet. My ID. A little cash. And one old photograph of me smiling before I learned how to disappear. I met Caleb Monroe when I was 20. He was handsome, confident, the kind of man people listened to. He told me, "I'll take care of you." And I believed him. At first he did. But slowly, care turned into control. He decided where I went, who I spoke to, what I wore. And when I got older and slower, his patience disappeared. "You're lucky I keep you," he once told me. "You'd be nothing without me." I believed that too. Until the night he tried to leave me with nothing at all. After hours on the porch, my body finally gave in. I couldn't feel my fingers. My chest hurt. My breath came in short bursts. I pulled out my phone and called the one person he hated me talking to. My niece. "Aunt Evelyn," she said, "what's wrong?" "I need help," I whispered. "He locked me out." There was silence. Then her voice turned sharp. "I'm coming." As I waited, the door opened suddenly. Caleb stood there. Dry. Warm. Smiling. "You still sitting there," he said. "I thought you'd be gone by now." I looked up at him. "I have nowhere to go," I said. He shrugged. "That's not my problem." And then he did something I will never forget. He stepped back inside and locked the door again. That was the moment something inside me cracked. Not loudly. Not angrily. Quietly. Cleanly. I realized something sitting on that cold porch. If a man can enjoy destroying you, then rebuilding without him is not revenge. It's survival. Headlights appeared at the end of the street. My niece's car. Caleb didn't know yet. But the night he tried to erase me was the night he lost control forever. And what happened after I left that porch is something he never saw coming. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The night I left that porch did not end when my niece arrived. That night followed me. It followed me into the car, into the warmth, into the quiet streets we drove through while the rain kept falling like it had something to prove. My niece, Marissa, did not ask many questions at first. She just drove, both hands on the steering wheel, jaw tight, eyes forward. Every few seconds, she glanced at me like she needed to make sure I was still real. I sat in the passenger seat wrapped in her coat, my purse clutched to my chest. My fingers were stiff from the cold. My legs ached so badly I felt it in my bones. "You're safe now," she said softly. I nodded, but the words didn't land. Safe was not a feeling yet, it was just a sound. When we reached her apartment, she helped me inside slowly. The heat hit my skin and made me shiver harder. My body didn't know what to do with warmth anymore. It had been too long since I felt cared for. She sat me down on the couch and brought a blanket, then another one. "Your hands are freezing," she said. I didn't want to knock too loud, I replied. She stopped. "What?" "I didn't want to make him angry," I said, like it was normal. Marissa looked at me for a long time. Then she went into the kitchen, without saying a word. I sat there, staring at the wall, listening to the sound of water boiling. The apartment smelled like soap and old books and something sweet. It felt lived in, human. I realized then that my house with Caleb had stopped feeling human years ago. It felt managed, controlled, quiet in the wrong way. Marissa came back with tea and medicine. "You need to take this," she said gently. I looked at the pills in her hand. "I left my prescription inside," I whispered. She shook her head. "We'll fix it," she said. "We'll fix everything." I wanted to believe her. But my whole life had taught me not to expect fixing. That night, I did not sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the porch light, the door, Caleb's face when he smiled and shut me out. At one point, Marissa came out of her bedroom and sat beside me. "You're shaking," she said. "I keep thinking I hear him," I replied. She put her arm around me. "He doesn't get to touch you anymore," she said. I swallowed hard. "I don't know who I am without him," I admitted. That was the first truth I spoke out loud. In the morning, the sun came in soft and slow through the window. My body felt heavy, my chest hurt, my knees screamed when I tried to stand. Marissa helped me up. "You should see a doctor today," she said. "I don't want him to find me," I replied. She looked at me carefully. "He already lost you," she said. "He just doesn't know it yet." Caleb called before noon. Marissa answered. "What do you want?" she snapped. I could hear his voice through the phone. "Put her on," he demanded. "No," she said. "You don't get access anymore." "She's my wife," he shouted. "She's a person," Marissa replied and hung up. My hands trembled. "He's angry," I said. "He should be ashamed," she replied. That word felt strange. Ashamed. I had never heard it used for him before. Later that day, I sat by the window while Marissa made calls. Doctor, pharmacy, someone from church she trusted. Each call felt like another thread being pulled loose from the life Caleb had wrapped around me. At one point, she handed me the phone. "They need to hear your voice," she said. I froze. "I don't speak well," I said. "I forget things." She knelt in front of me. "You survived him," she said. "You can speak." My voice shook when I started talking. But I didn't stop. That evening, Caleb sent messages. Long ones. Angry ones. Then sweet ones. Then threatening ones. "You embarrassed me. You're confused. Come home. You'll regret this." I didn't reply. For the first time in decades, I didn't explain myself. 2 days later, we went back to the house. Not to reconcile. To retrieve my things. Marissa insisted on coming with me. "You don't face him alone anymore," she said. My heart raced as we pulled into the driveway. The house looked the same. White paint, neat lawn. Like nothing bad had ever happened there. Caleb was waiting. He leaned against the doorframe like he owned the world. "You're back," he said smugly. "I'm here for my things," I replied. He laughed. "You don't have anything without me." Marissa stepped forward. "She has more than you'll ever know," she said. Inside, everything felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. I walked slowly from room to room, gathering clothes, papers, pictures. Caleb followed, narrating every move. "You won't last a month. You're too old. You'll crawl back." I didn't answer. That scared him. When I reached the bedroom, I stopped. The dresser drawer was empty. My savings book was gone. "Where is it?" I asked quietly. Caleb smiled. "What savings?" My stomach dropped. "You took it," I whispered. "You don't need it," he replied. "I manage money." Marissa's voice turned cold. "That money is hers." He shrugged. "Prove it." That was the moment I understood. He wasn't just cruel. He was trying to erase me. As we left the house, my legs felt weak, but my spine felt straight. Caleb stood in the doorway watching. "You'll be nothing without me," he called after us. I turned back once. "No," I said, "I was nothing with you." His smile disappeared. That night, back at Marissa's apartment, I cried. Not loud. Not broken. Just steady tears that felt like they had waited years to come out. "He tried to destroy me," I said. "Yes," she replied, "and you walked out alive." I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Because now that I had left, Caleb would not let go quietly. And the next thing he did would change everything. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The days after we left the house did not feel like freedom. They felt like floating. Like my feet were no longer touching the ground, but I had not learned how to land yet. Marissa tried to keep things calm for me. She spoke softly in the mornings. She let me move slowly. She never rushed me, even when I took too long to stand or forgot what I was saying halfway through a sentence. But my mind was loud. Too loud. Every quiet moment filled with Caleb's voice. "You'll come back. You don't know how to live without me. You'll fail." Those words had been planted in me for decades. They didn't disappear just because I left the house. They echoed. On the third morning, I woke up crying. Not from a dream. From memory. I remembered the first time Caleb ever raised his voice at me. We were newly married then. I had burned the food by mistake. "You can't even do one thing right," he had said. I apologized. I always apologized. That morning in Marissa's apartment, I sat on the edge of the bed and asked myself a question that scared me. What if he's right? What if I really couldn't live without him? The thought made my chest tighten. I pressed my hand there and breathed slowly, the way the doctor once taught me. Marissa knocked gently. "You up?" she asked. "Yes," I said, "just thinking." She hesitated. "Thinking can be dangerous," she said gently. "Want breakfast?" I nodded. At the table, I barely touched my food. Marissa noticed. "You don't have to be strong all the time," she said. I looked up at her. "I don't know how else to be," I replied. She reached across the table and held my hand. "You don't need to know everything today," she said. "Just stay." Stay. That word meant more than she knew. Later that day, the phone rang again. Unknown number. I didn't want to answer, but something in me said I needed to stop running from sounds. So I picked up. "Hello." There was silence. Then Caleb's voice. "You think you can hide," he said. My stomach dropped. "How did you get this number?" I asked. "I'm your husband," he replied. "I can find you anywhere." I felt my hands shake. "I asked you not to call," I said. You don't get to make rules, he snapped. Something inside me stirred. Quiet. Firm. I do now, I said. He laughed sharply. You sound confident. Someone's coaching you. No, I replied. I'm finally listening to myself. That made him angry. You owe me, he said. Everything you are is because of me. I took a breath. No, I said. Everything I lost was because of you. He hung up. My knees felt weak. But I didn't cry. That surprised me. That afternoon, Marissa took me to the doctor. The waiting room smelled like disinfectant and old magazines. I sat slowly, my body stiff and tired. When the nurse called my name, I almost didn't stand. Hearing my name spoken out loud like that felt strange. Like I was being recognized again. Inside the exam room, the doctor asked questions. How long have you felt this pain? When did the dizziness start? Who helps you at home? That last one made me pause. For a long time, I said slowly, no one. The doctor looked at me with something like concern. And something like anger. When we got back to the apartment, I slept for hours. Deep, heavy sleep. The kind you fall into when your body finally feels allowed to rest. When I woke up, Marissa was on the phone in the other room. Her voice was tense. No, she's not coming back. She's safe. You need to stop. I sat up. She came in and sighed. He's calling everyone, she said. Your cousins, church people, old neighbors. I felt my throat tighten. What is he saying? I asked. She hesitated. That you're confused, she said. That you're sick, that you're being controlled. I closed my eyes. That was his favorite trick. If he couldn't control me, he would control the story. The next day, messages started coming in. Not from Caleb. From others. Are you okay? We heard something happened. Call me when you can. Each message made my chest tighten. I didn't want to explain. Explaining had always been my job. But I was tired. So tired. Marissa sat beside me. You don't owe anyone details, she said, but you do deserve to be heard. I thought about that. Then I made a decision. I would tell the truth. Not loudly. Not angrily. Just plainly. I called my cousin first. I left, I said, because he locked me out and took my money. There was silence. Then he did what? I repeated it. Slowly. Clearly. No excuses. No softening. When I hung up, my hands were shaking. But something else was happening too. The lie was breaking. Over the next few days, I told the truth again and again. To different people. Each time, it got easier. Each time, I felt less afraid. Caleb noticed. He sent another message. You're making me look bad. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed one sentence. I didn't make you anything. I didn't wait for a reply. One evening, I overheard Marissa on the phone again. He's furious, she said. No, I don't think he expected her to speak. Yes, he's losing control. That last part stayed with me. Losing control. For years, I thought control meant strength. Now I saw it for what it was. Fear in disguise. That night, I sat alone by the window. Streetlights flickered on. People walked by, laughing, talking, living. I had spent so many years inside one house that I forgot the world was still moving. I pressed my hand to the glass. I'm still here, I whispered. And for the first time, I believed it. The next morning, Marissa handed me a small notebook. You should write, she said. I don't write, I replied. You talk, she said. This is just talking on paper. I opened it slowly. The first page stayed blank for a long time. Then I wrote one sentence. He tried to erase me. I stared at the words. They felt heavy. But they also felt true. That afternoon, something happened that made my stomach turn. Caleb showed up at Marissa's building. He didn't come inside. He waited outside, watching. I saw him from the window, standing there like he belonged, like he still owned me. My heart started pounding. Marissa noticed. "He can't come in," she said firmly. "I know," I replied, "but he can still scare me." She put a hand on my shoulder. "Not forever," she said. Caleb stayed there for almost an hour. Then he left. But the message was clear. He wasn't done. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the savings book, the money he took, the papers he hid. He wasn't just trying to punish me. He was trying to make sure I couldn't rebuild. That scared me. But it also lit something inside me. A quiet fire. Because if he was afraid of me rebuilding, then rebuilding was exactly what I needed to do. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. My body tired. My heart steady. Tomorrow, I would take the first real step toward my own life. And I knew one thing for sure. Caleb would not like it. And when he found out, everything would change. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The first step toward rebuilding did not feel brave. It felt terrifying. I woke up that morning with my heart beating fast, like it already knew what I was about to do. My body ached in places I had ignored for years. My knees were stiff. My back felt tight. Even sitting up took effort. For a moment, I almost stayed in bed. Not because I wanted to rest, because rest felt safer than change. But then I remembered the porch, the cold, the locked door, and I knew staying still was no longer an option. Marissa was already awake, sitting at the small table with papers spread out in front of her. "I made some calls," she said carefully, like she didn't want to scare me. I sat down slowly. "What kind of calls?" I asked. "The kind that help you stand on your own," she replied. That sentence made my chest tighten. Standing on my own. I had not done that in more than 50 years. She slid a paper toward me. "It's an appointment," she said, "with a financial counselor." My hands froze. "I don't have money," I whispered. She met my eyes. "You have rights," she said. That word again. Rights. I had lived so long believing marriage meant surrender that I forgot I existed as a person outside of it. "I don't know how to talk to people like that," I said. "You don't need to," she replied. "You just need to tell the truth." The truth. It had already started changing things. The appointment was later that afternoon. I spent the morning packing slowly around the apartment, stopping often to sit and breathe. My body felt heavy, like it was resisting this new direction. Change always hurts first. Before we left, Marissa handed me my purse. "Everything you need is in there," she said. I opened it. My ID. A few dollars. The old photograph. That was all I had. And somehow, it had to be enough. The office was quiet. Too quiet. I sat across from a woman who smiled gently and spoke slowly. "Tell me what's going on," she said. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. For years, speaking honestly had consequences. Punishment. Mockery. Control. My throat tightened. Marissa squeezed my hand under the table. "You can start anywhere," the woman said softly. So I did. "I was locked out of my house," I said. "My husband took my savings. I'm old, and I'm sick, and I don't know where to begin." The woman didn't interrupt. She just listened. And when I finished, she said something that shook me. "You're not starting over," she said. "You're continuing." I blinked. "What do you mean?" I asked. "You built a life for decades," she said. "Someone else tried to take credit for it. That doesn't erase what you did." My eyes burned. because no one had ever said that to me before. When we got back to the apartment, my phone buzzed. A message from Caleb. "You think you're clever now." I didn't reply. A minute later, another message. "You're embarrassing yourself." Still, I stayed quiet. Silence had become my shield. That evening, Marissa cooked dinner. I watched her move around the kitchen with ease, humming softly. She didn't rush. She didn't apologize for taking up space. At one point, she turned to me. "You okay?" she asked. "I feel like I'm doing something wrong," I admitted. She frowned. "Why?" "Because no one is yelling," I said. She stopped. "Oh," she said quietly. That one word held so much understanding that I almost cried. Later that night, Caleb showed up again. This time, he didn't wait outside. He came to the door and knocked hard. Marissa looked at me. "You don't have to answer," she said. I stood up slowly. "I want to," I replied. She opened the door, just enough to stand between us. "What do you want?" she asked. Caleb looked past her. "Evelyn," he said, forcing a smile. "Let's talk." I stepped forward. "I'm listening," I said. He sighed dramatically. "You're making this harder than it needs to be," he said. "Just come home." "No," I replied. His smile vanished. "You can't survive without me," he said sharply. I felt my knees shake, but I stayed standing. "I'm surviving right now," I said. "You're being influenced," he snapped. "You're not thinking straight." "I've never thought clearer," I replied. That made his voice rise. "You think these people care about you?" he shouted. "They'll get tired of you." Marissa stepped forward. "That's enough," she said. He glared at her. "You ruined my marriage," he said. She laughed softly. "No," she replied. "You ruined it yourself." That pushed him over the edge. "You ungrateful old woman," he snapped at me. "I gave you everything." Something inside me snapped back. "No," I said. "I gave you everything." The hallway went quiet. He stared at me like he had never seen me before. "You don't get to rewrite history," he said. "I lived it," I replied. For a second, I saw fear in his eyes. Then he turned and walked away. That night, my phone filled with messages. From Caleb. From unknown numbers. From people repeating his words. "He says you've lost your mind. He says you're being controlled." Each message felt like a wave hitting my chest. I sat on the edge of the bed, shaking. "What if they believe him?" I asked. Marissa sat beside me. "Some will," she said, "and that's okay." I looked at her. "How?" I asked. "Because the ones who matter," she said, "are starting to believe you." The next morning, I received a call from church. Not from Caleb's friends. From a woman I barely spoke to before. "I just wanted to check on you," she said. "Something doesn't feel right about what he's saying." I closed my eyes. That was the crack. The first public crack. Later that day, the counselor called back. "There are steps we can take," she said, "but your husband won't like them." I smiled faintly. "He doesn't like me breathing," I replied. She laughed softly. "That tells me everything," she said. That evening, I sat alone with my notebook again. I wrote slowly. "I am not weak." I was made small. The words looked strange on the page, but they felt right. As night fell, Marissa locked the door and checked the windows. "Just in case," she said. I nodded. Because Caleb was not done. And I could feel it. The more control he lost, the more dangerous his pride became. I lay in bed listening to the city sounds outside. Cars, voices, life. Tomorrow, I would take another step. A bigger one. And when Caleb found out what I was planning next, he would panic. And panic always reveals the truth. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The decision I made the next morning sat heavy in my chest, before my feet even touched the floor. I woke up early before Marissa, staring at the ceiling while the city outside was still quiet. My body hurt in the familiar ways, my knees stiff, my lower back tight, my hands swollen. Pain had become a kind of clock for me. It told me when to move and when to stop. But that morning, something else was louder than pain. Resolve. I knew what I had to do, even though every part of me was afraid. I was going to open a bank account in my own name. Just saying that in my head made my heart beat faster. For more than 50 years, money had never been mine. Caleb handled it all. He said I was too emotional to understand numbers. He said it was easier if one person decided everything. I believed him because believing him made life quieter. But quiet is not the same as safe. When Marissa came into the kitchen, I was already sitting at the table, my purse in front of me. "You're up early," she said. "I couldn't sleep," I replied. She poured coffee and sat across from me. "You look like you're about to do something big," she said. I swallowed. "I am," I said, "and I'm scared." She nodded. "Good," she said. "That means it matters." The bank was not far, but it felt like a long journey. I watched people walk in and out as we parked. Young people, old people, couples, single folks, all of them moving like they belonged there. I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere anymore. Inside, the air smelled clean and sharp. I held my purse tight against my body, like someone might try to take it. The woman at the desk smiled. "How can I help you today?" she asked. I opened my mouth. My voice almost failed me. "I want to open an account," I said. "In whose name?" she asked. I hesitated. Then I said it. "Mine." That single word made my chest ache. Mine. The process took longer than I expected. Forms, questions, identification. When the woman asked if I was married, my heart skipped. "Yes," I said. "Will your husband be joining the account?" she asked. "No," I replied. She paused, then nodded. "That's fine," she said. "Many people prefer their own accounts." Many people. Not just me. That realization grounded me. When it was done, the woman slid a small paper toward me. "Welcome," she said. I stared at it. It was simple. Just numbers and my name. But it felt like a doorway. When we walked back outside, I stopped on the sidewalk. "I did it," I whispered. Marissa smiled. "You sure did," she said. I felt tears rise, but I didn't wipe them away. I had earned them. Caleb found out that evening. I didn't know how at first. Then my phone rang. I didn't want to answer, but I did. "What did you do?" he demanded. I stayed calm. "I opened an account," I said. "With whose money?" he snapped. "With my future," I replied. His voice rose. "You have no right." I took a breath. "I have every right," I said. "I always did." He laughed harshly. "You think a piece of paper makes you independent," he sneered. "No," I replied, "but it proves I already am." He hung up. My hands were shaking, but I was smiling. The next day, something unexpected happened. A check arrived. Small. From a sewing job I had done months ago and forgotten about. Caleb had never bothered to give it to me. I stared at it for a long time. Then I endorsed it and placed it carefully in my new account. My first deposit. It felt symbolic, like proof the world still had a place for me. Caleb didn't stay quiet. He never did. He called my cousin again. He called church members. He told people I was being taken advantage of, that I was confused, that I didn't know what I was doing. But something had shifted. People started calling me directly. Not to accuse, to ask. And when they asked, I told the truth. He locked me out. He took my money. He wants me dependent. No drama. No tears. Just facts. Facts are hard to argue with. One afternoon, a woman from church came by. She stood awkwardly in the doorway. "I didn't know," she said quietly. I nodded. "I didn't tell," I replied. She swallowed. "You should have," she said. Maybe. But shame had kept my mouth closed for years. Now it had no power. That night, Caleb sent a long message. He wrote about loyalty, about vows, about how I was destroying the family image. I read it slowly. Then I deleted it. I did not reply. Silence felt stronger than words. My body had good days and bad days. Some mornings, I could walk easily. Other days, I needed help. But even on the hardest days, something inside me stayed upright. I was no longer shrinking to fit someone else's comfort. I was taking up space. A week later, the counselor called again. "There's a housing option," she said. "Temporary, but yours." My stomach flipped. "My own place?" I asked. "Yes," she said. I sat very still. I had not lived alone since I was 19. Fear and excitement mixed together. "When?" I asked. "Soon," she replied. I hung up and looked at Marissa. "I might be leaving," I said softly. She smiled, but her eyes shined. "That's the point," she said. That night, I lay awake thinking. About the house Caleb and I shared. About the rooms I cleaned and cooked in. About the years I gave. Leaving was not just about space. It was about identity. Who was I without him? The answer scared me. But it also felt wide open. Caleb showed up again 2 days later. This time, he was calmer. Too calm. "You don't have to do this," he said, standing in the hallway. "I already am," I replied. He sighed. "You'll fail," he said, "and when you do, don't expect me to save you." I met his eyes. "You never saved me," I said. "You kept me." That hurt him. I could see it. But he covered it with anger. "You'll regret this," he said. I nodded. "I regret staying," I replied. He left without another word. That night, I packed a small bag. Just in case. As I folded my clothes, I realized something important. I wasn't running anymore. I was choosing. And that difference mattered. Tomorrow, I would take another step toward a life that belonged to me. And Caleb. He would realize too late that destroying me had failed. Because I was rebuilding. Brick by brick. And the next thing I did would scare him more than anything so far. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The day I moved into my own place, my hands would not stop shaking. Not because I was weak, but because I was doing something I had not done in more than half a century. I was choosing where I would live. I woke up before the alarm, my heart already racing. My body felt heavy, like it knew change was coming and wanted to resist it. My knees hurt badly when I stood up, and for a moment I leaned on the bed and wondered if I was making a mistake. What if I couldn't manage alone? What if Caleb was right? Those thoughts came quickly, like they always did when I was tired. But then I remembered the porch, the rain, the locked door, and I kept moving. Marissa helped me pack the last few things. We didn't have much. Clothes, my notebook, my purse, a small box of photos. "That's all you need," she said softly. I nodded. "It feels strange," I admitted. "So little." She smiled. "It's a beginning," she said. "Beginnings are light. Endings are heavy." That thought stayed with me as we loaded the car. The place was small. Smaller than the house Caleb and I shared. But when I walked in, something inside my chest loosened. It smelled clean, empty, new. The sunlight came through one window and landed right on the floor, warm and steady. "This is yours," Marissa said. "Mine." I sat down slowly on the couch and pressed my hands into the fabric, like I needed proof. No one was watching. No one was judging how long I sat. No one was timing my breaths. I felt tears slide down my face before I even knew I was crying. That first night alone was the hardest. The quiet felt too big. Every sound made my heart jump: the hum of the refrigerator, a car passing outside, footsteps in the hallway. I kept expecting Caleb's voice. "Why are you sitting like that? Why didn't you turn off the light?" But the voice never came. Only silence. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my body aching, my mind racing. Freedom does not feel peaceful at first. It feels unfamiliar. The next morning, I woke up stiff and sore. It took me a long time to sit up. My joints protested, like they always did, but something felt different. There was no pressure, no urgency, no one waiting to criticize how long it took me to stand. I made myself tea slowly and sat by the window. The city outside was already awake. People going to work, cars moving, life happening. And for the first time in years, I felt part of it again. Caleb called before noon. I knew it was him the moment my phone buzzed. I almost didn't answer. But then I did. "So you really left," he said. "Yes," I replied. "You think that little box is a life," he scoffed. I looked around my small space. "I think it's a start," I said. His voice turned sharp. "You can't do this without me." I took a breath. "I already am," I replied. He laughed bitterly. "You'll be begging to come back." I stayed quiet. Silence unsettled him. "You hear me?" he snapped. "Yes," I said calmly. "I hear you." Then I hung up. My hands were shaking again. But my spine stayed straight. The days that followed were slow. Painful. Quiet. I learned my body all over again. What time I needed to rest. How far I could walk. When I needed help. There was no one telling me I was lazy. No one calling me dramatic. Just me and my limits. And for the first time, I respected them. One afternoon, I went grocery shopping alone. It took me almost an hour to move through the store. I leaned on the cart. I moved slowly. No one rushed me. When I paid at the counter with my own money, my chest tightened again. It was a small thing, but it mattered. I carried the bags myself. Heavy. Real. Caleb did not stop. He sent messages almost every day. Sometimes angry. Sometimes pleading. Sometimes threatening. "You're ruining everything. You don't know how hard this is for me. Come home and we'll forget this." I read them. Then I deleted them. Each time I did, I felt lighter. One evening, a knock came at my door. I froze. Fear rushed through me. I wasn't expecting anyone. I moved quietly and looked through the peephole. It was a woman from church. She smiled gently when I opened the door. "I just wanted to check on you," she said. I stepped aside and let her in. She looked around slowly. "It's nice," she said. "It's small," I replied. She shook her head. "It's peaceful," she said. That word stayed with me long after she left. My health had good days and bad days. Some mornings I woke up strong. Other days I could barely stand. But even on the bad days, something inside me stayed firm. I was no longer trying to survive someone else's cruelty. I was healing. Slowly. Caleb showed up one afternoon without warning. I was sitting by the window when I saw him outside. My heart started pounding. I didn't open the door. He knocked. Hard. "Evelyn," he called, "open this door." I stayed seated. "You can't ignore me," he shouted. I stood slowly, walked to the door and spoke through it. "Leave," I said. "You owe me a conversation," he snapped. "No," I replied. "I owe myself peace." There was silence. Then his voice softened. "Please," he said, "I need you." I closed my eyes. That sentence used to keep me. Not anymore. "You need help," I said, "not me." He slammed his fist on the door once, then walked away. My legs trembled, but I didn't sit down. I stayed standing until the shaking passed. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. Because I had faced him. And I was still standing. The next morning, I received a letter. From the counselor. Steps. Options. Resources. A future. I sat at my small table reading it slowly. This was real now. Caleb had tried to destroy my life. Instead, he had pushed me into rebuilding it. And the more I rebuilt, the smaller he became. As the sun set that evening, I sat by the window again. My body tired. My heart steady. Tomorrow would bring something new. I didn't know what yet. But I knew one thing for sure. Caleb was running out of ways to control me. And when control is gone, the truth comes out. And when the truth comes out, everything changes. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The days after Caleb showed up at my door felt heavier than before. Not because he scared me more, but because I could feel him slipping. And when a man who has lived on control starts slipping, he reaches for anything he can grab. Even lies. Even pity. Even other people. I woke up the next morning with a tight feeling in my chest. My body was tired, but my mind was alert. I sat at the edge of my bed and took slow breaths, reminding myself where I was. My place. My rules. My morning. That helped. By noon, my phone started ringing. Not Caleb. Other people. First, my cousin. "I just talked to Caleb," she said carefully. I closed my eyes. "What did he say?" I asked. "He says you're confused," she replied. "That you're being manipulated." I sighed. "That's his favorite word," I said. "Confused." She hesitated. "I didn't believe him," she said. "I just wanted to hear from you." Something softened in my chest. "I'm not confused," I replied. "I'm finally clear." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I'm proud of you." That word felt unfamiliar. Proud. It stayed with me long after the call ended. The next call came from someone at church. Then another. Each call followed the same pattern. They had heard Caleb's version. But something about it didn't sit right. And now they were asking me. For years, I had been invisible. Now, suddenly, people wanted to listen. I didn't rush. I didn't over-explain. I just told the truth. He locked me out. He took my money. He wanted me dependent. No tears. No drama. Just facts. Facts are heavy. They sink. That afternoon, I felt strong enough to walk outside. I moved slowly down the hallway, holding the railing. Each step was careful, deliberate. When I reached the sidewalk, the sun warmed my face and I closed my eyes for a moment. I had spent so many years inside one house that I forgot how big the world was. A neighbor smiled at me as she passed. "Good afternoon," she said. "Good afternoon," I replied. Just like that. Normal. Human. When I came back inside, my phone buzzed again. A message from Caleb. "Everyone is turning against me because of you." I stared at it, then typed back one sentence. "I didn't turn them. I stopped lying." He didn't reply, but I knew he read it. That evening, something unexpected happened. Caleb's sister showed up. I almost didn't open the door. But when I saw her face through the peephole, I felt something different. Curiosity. I opened the door slowly. She looked uncomfortable. "I just wanted to talk," she said. I stepped aside. She sat on the edge of my couch, hands folded tightly. "He's not doing well," she said. I nodded. "I know," I replied. "He says you abandoned him," she continued. I took a breath. "I left," I said. "That's not the same." She looked at me carefully. "He's angry," she said, "but he's also scared." I said nothing. "He's saying you ruined him," she added. I finally spoke. "He ruined himself," I said. "I just stopped carrying him." That made her swallow hard. She looked around my small apartment. "It's peaceful," she said. "Yes," I replied. "It is." She nodded slowly. "I didn't know," she said quietly. I didn't ask what she meant. We both knew. Before she left, she turned back. "He's losing people," she said, "even those who always defended him." I nodded again. "I'm not surprised," I replied, "because lies need silence to survive." And silence was gone. That night, I slept deeply. Not because everything was easy, but because I was no longer fighting myself. The next morning, my body felt heavier. Pain sat deep in my joints. I moved slowly, accepting it instead of fighting it. There was a time I would have apologized to Caleb for being slow. Now, I made tea and rested when I needed to. That was strength. Around noon, Caleb called again. I let it ring. Then ring again. Finally, I answered. "What do you want?" I asked. His voice sounded different. "Tired." "Ruh." "I don't recognize you," he said. I leaned back in my chair. "That's because you never saw me," I replied. "You were nothing before me," he snapped weakly. I didn't react. "I was younger," I said. "That's all." He paused. "You're enjoying this," he accused. "No," I replied. "I'm healing." That made him angry. "You think you're better than me now." I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. "I think I'm done being smaller," I said. He slammed the phone down. I sat there quietly, my heart steady. Because his anger no longer controlled me. That afternoon, I went to a community center Marissa had told me about. They offered classes, support, activities for older folks. I sat in the back, listening, watching. For the first time in years, I felt like my life might include something new. Not just survival. Living. Caleb did not show up that night. But I knew he was close. I could feel it. People like him do not accept loss easily. They look for one final move. One last attempt to regain control. I locked my door and sat by the window. The city lights flickered on. My reflection stared back at me in the glass. Older. Yes. Tired. Yes. But stronger than I had ever been. As I prepared for bed, my phone buzzed again. A message from Caleb. "If you don't come back, I'll tell everyone everything." I smiled faintly. Everything. I typed one final response. They already know enough. I placed the phone face down. Because I knew something important. The man who tried to destroy my life was running out of power. And when power runs out, truth finishes the job. Tomorrow would bring the moment he feared most. Not confrontation. Not shouting. Exposure. And when that happened, there would be no going back. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe. Like, turn on the bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The morning everything started to change. I felt it before I saw it. I woke up with a strange calm in my chest. Not happiness, not excitement, just a quiet knowing that something had shifted during the night. My body still hurt. My knees complained as soon as I moved, and my hands were stiff when I reached for my robe. Pain was still part of my life, but fear was not sitting beside it anymore. I stood by the window and watched the street wake up. People walking dogs. A bus stopping on the corner. A woman laughing into her phone. Life kept moving. And so would I. My phone buzzed around mid-morning. It was Caleb. It was someone from church. "Evelyn," she said carefully, "are you all right?" "Yes," I replied. She hesitated. "We had a meeting last night," she said. Caleb spoke. I closed my eyes slowly. "What did he say?" I asked. "He said you abandoned him," she continued. "That you were sick and confused." I waited. "But," she added, "people asked questions." That made my chest tighten. "What kind of questions?" I asked. "About the money," she said. "About why you left so suddenly, about the porch." I leaned back against the wall. "They know about that?" I asked. She sighed. "He didn't expect you to tell anyone," she said, "but someone already had." I didn't ask who. It didn't matter. Truth doesn't belong to one person once it's spoken. By afternoon, the calls increased. Not angry calls. Curious ones. People weren't defending Caleb anymore. They were trying to understand me. How long had it been like this? Did he really lock you out? Are you safe now? Each question felt heavy, but it also felt fair. For years, no one asked me anything. Now they were listening. And I spoke. Slowly. Honestly. I was scared. I felt small. I didn't think I had a choice. No yelling. No blaming. Just truth. And the truth settled differently than lies. Caleb called 3 times that afternoon. I didn't answer. On the 4th call, I picked up. "You're telling people lies," he shouted. "I'm telling them my life," I replied. "You're destroying me," he said. I took a breath. "You destroyed yourself when you enjoyed my suffering," I replied. He went quiet. Then his voice cracked. "You're supposed to protect me," he whispered. I almost laughed. Protect him. I had spent decades doing that. "I protected you at my own expense," I said. "I'm done." He hung up. Later that day, I went to the community center again. This time, I stayed longer. I listened to stories. Other women. Other lives. Different faces. Same pain. One woman said quietly, "I thought I was too old to start again." I nodded. "So did I replied. She smiled at me. "But here we are," she said. That sentence stayed with me. When I got home, there was an envelope taped to my door. No name. No return address. Inside was a note. "You should stop before this goes too far." I stared at the words. My hands trembled. Not from fear. From anger. I ripped the note in half and threw it away. Because intimidation only works when silence follows. And I was done being silent. That evening, Marissa called. "He's panicking," she said. "He's calling everyone." "I know," I replied. "He tried to blame me," she added. "Said I filled your head." I smiled faintly. "He filled it first," I said. Marissa laughed softly. "But he can't reach you now," she said. "No," I replied, "and that's what scares him." That night, Caleb showed up at the community center. I wasn't there. But people told me later. He walked in angry. Demanding answers. Demanding loyalty. But his voice was loud. Too loud. People noticed. And when someone asked him calmly why I had left, he snapped. That was the moment. The mask slipped. The next morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. Messages. Calls. People apologizing. People asking forgiveness. People saying, "We didn't know." I sat at my table, my tea growing cold. I wasn't celebrating. I was grieving. Grieving the years I lost. Grieving the silence I carried. but also feeling something new. Relief. Caleb sent one final message that day. You think you've won. I stared at it for a long time, then typed back one sentence. This was never a competition. I turned my phone off, because I knew what came next. The final collapse. When control is fully exposed, there is nothing left to hold it up. That night, I stood by my window again. Lights flickered on across the city. Somewhere, Caleb was realizing that the story he built was falling apart. And there was nothing he could do to stop it. Because people were finally seeing him. And seeing me. Tomorrow would bring the final confrontation. Not loud. Not violent. But undeniable. And when it came, there would be no rebuilding for him. Only acceptance. Or collapse. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The day before everything finally broke, the air felt heavy. Not storm heavy. Truth heavy. I woke up with a strange pressure in my chest, like my body was warning me to stay alert. My knees ached badly that morning, and it took longer than usual to stand. I held onto the edge of the bed and waited for the pain to settle. Slow, I whispered to myself. You're allowed to be slow. That was something I never said before. Caleb hated slowness. He said it made him look bad. He said people would think he wasn't taking care of me. So I rushed my pain for years. I hid it. I swallowed it. Now I let it exist. I made tea and sat at the table, staring at the small plant Marissa bought me for the windowsill. It was green and alive and stubborn. I smiled at it like it understood me. My phone buzzed. A message from someone I didn't expect. Caleb's old friend. I need to talk to you. My stomach tightened. I didn't answer right away. I finished my tea. Then I replied. You can call. His voice sounded uncomfortable when he spoke. Evelyn, I didn't know, he said. I had heard those words many times now. I believe you, I replied. He told us you were exaggerating, the man continued, but things aren't adding up. I stayed quiet. He's been asking for money, the man said softly. Says you took everything. That made me close my eyes. I felt tired. Not shocked. Just tired. I didn't take anything, I said. I left with my purse. There was a long pause. I thought you should know, he said. I already do, I replied. When the call ended, I sat very still. Because now it wasn't just about control. It was about desperation. Desperation makes people careless. I learned that by watching Caleb for years. And now, he was unraveling publicly. By afternoon, my phone rang again. This time, it was from the community center. He came here again, the woman said carefully. My heart sank. What did he do? I asked. He was loud, she replied. Angry, he demanded to speak to you. I wasn't there, I said. I know, she replied, but people saw him. That sentence meant everything. Seen. Caleb hated being seen without control. That evening, I decided to go for a walk. Not far. Just around the block. I moved slowly, leaning on my cane, my body reminding me of every year I had lived. But as I walked, people nodded at me. Smiled. One woman said, "Good evening." Another said, "Take care." Small kindnesses. But they felt big. For years, I had felt invisible. Now people saw me. When I returned home, there was a message waiting. From Caleb. We need to talk, now. I stared at it for a long time. My heart beat faster. But it wasn't fear anymore. It was anticipation. I typed back. Tomorrow, public place. There was no reply. But I knew he read it. That night, I barely slept. My mind replayed memories like old tapes. The first time he laughed when I cried. The way he watched me struggle to stand and did nothing. The porch, the lock, the rain. I didn't cry. I just breathed, because I knew the end was close. The next day, the sky was gray. Not dark, just heavy. I dressed carefully, chose clothes that felt like me. Simple, comfortable, strong. When I arrived at the cafe, he was already there, sitting stiffly, watching the door. When he saw me, his face changed. Relief, anger, fear, all at once. "You look calm," he said. "I am," I replied. That unsettled him. He didn't waste time. "You ruined me," he said quietly. I sat down slowly. "No," I replied. "You ruined yourself." His jaw tightened. "You told people lies." "I told them my life," I said. "You were supposed to be loyal," he snapped. I leaned forward slightly. "I was loyal," I said. "You were cruel." People nearby glanced over. Caleb lowered his voice. "You think you're strong now," he said bitterly. "I think I'm free," I replied. That word hit him hard. He leaned back and laughed softly. "You'll regret this," he said. "You're alone." I shook my head. "I was alone with you," I said. "That was worse." His hands shook. "I needed you," he said suddenly. That was the closest thing to honesty he had ever given me. I looked at him carefully. "You needed someone to carry your darkness," I said. "I'm done carrying it." He stood abruptly. "You think this makes you a hero?" he snapped. "No," I replied. "It makes me alive." People were watching now. He noticed. His face flushed. "You did this on purpose," he said. "I survived on purpose," I replied. He stared at me like he wanted to say more. Then he sat back down, defeated. When I stood to leave, my knees wobbled slightly. But I stayed upright. "I'm done," I said. "This isn't over," he replied weakly. I paused. "Yes," I said softly, "it is." I walked out without looking back. That evening, the messages came. People telling me what happened after I left. Caleb stayed at the cafe for a long time, arguing with himself, talking too loudly. Someone asked him to calm down. Someone else asked him to leave. He did. Alone. I sat by my window as night fell. My body exhausted. My heart steady. I knew he had nothing left now. No story. No control. No audience. Tomorrow would bring the final moment. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just final. And when it came, I would not need to do anything. Because the man who tried to destroy my life had already destroyed his own. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The morning after I walked out of that cafe, I woke up lighter. Not healed. Not young. But lighter in a way I hadn't felt since before I met Caleb. My body still hurt. My knees complained as I swung my legs off the bed. My hands shook a little when I reached for my robe. Pain did not disappear just because my marriage ended. But fear was gone. And fear had weighed more than pain ever did. I made tea and sat by the window, watching the street wake up. A man jogged past with his headphones in. A mother walked her child to school. A bus hissed as it stopped at the corner. Life moved forward. It always had. I was the one who had been stuck. I thought about Caleb sitting alone after I left him at that cafe. I did not imagine him strong or powerful. I imagined him confused, small, angry at a world that no longer bent to him. For the first time, that thought did not bring guilt. It brought peace. My phone buzzed mid-morning. Not from Caleb. From someone else. A woman from church. "Evelyn," she said gently, "we had another meeting last night." I already knew what she was going to say. "He didn't handle it well," she continued. People asked questions again. I closed my eyes. What kind of questions? I asked. The kind he can't answer, she replied. That told me everything. By afternoon, the calls slowed. The messages stopped. It was like the noise finally ran out of breath. Caleb had talked too much, yelled too loudly, contradicted himself too often. And when a man who depends on silence starts shouting, people start listening. Just not to him. I went to the community center that evening. Not to hide. Not to prove anything. Just to exist. I sat with other women, some younger, some older, some laughing, some quiet. One woman asked me, "How long were you married?" 56 years, I replied. Her eyes widened. That's a long time, she said. Yes, I replied, and I survived it. She smiled softly. I'm glad you're here, she said. So was I. When I returned home, there was one final message waiting. From Caleb. It was short. I don't know who I am anymore. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back the truth. You never wanted to know who I was. I did not wait for a reply. I turned my phone off and placed it face down. Because I was done carrying his confusion. That night, I slept deeply. Not from exhaustion. From release. For decades, my mind had stayed half awake, always waiting for criticism, correction, control. That night, there was nothing waiting for me. Just rest. The days that followed were quiet. Caleb did not come back. He did not call. He did not send messages. People stopped asking me about him. They started asking me about me. How are you feeling? What do you like to do? What do you want now? Those questions felt strange, but they also felt kind. My body healed slowly. Some days were better than others. I learned how to listen to myself again. When to stop. When to rest. When to say no. I decorated my small apartment with care. A plant on the window, a photo on the table, my notebook always nearby. This space did not belong to pain. It belonged to peace. One afternoon, Marissa visited and sat with me quietly. You did it, she said. I'm still doing it, I replied. She smiled. He's finished, she said. I nodded. Yes, I replied, he is. Not because I punished him. Not because I chased revenge. But because he lost the one thing that made him powerful. Someone to suffer quietly. Weeks later, I heard through someone else that Caleb had moved. Left town. No big announcement. No goodbye. Just gone. A man without an audience. A man without a story. A man who tried to destroy someone else's life and ended up with nothing to stand on. I felt no joy hearing that. Just closure. One evening, as the sun set through my window, I looked at my reflection in the glass. My face was older. Yes. My body was fragile. Yes. But my eyes were steady. Alive. I spoke softly to myself. You survived. And I believed it. I spent years thinking strength meant endurance. Staying quiet. Taking pain without complaint. I was wrong. Strength is knowing when to leave. When to speak. When to stop shrinking. My husband tried to destroy my life. He tried to erase me. To leave me cold, broke, and silent. Instead, I rebuilt my life without him. Slowly. Carefully. Truthfully. And in doing so, I discovered something he never understood. I was never weak. I was just waiting to be free. If this story touched you, please subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell for more emotional stories like this. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Somewhere out there, I might be reading.